So UFC is happening tonight. I don't know if so we record our podcast on Saturday morning. So it's probably 9:30 a.m. Fights tonight. And yeah, it's a crazy card. I mean, we saw the press conference. I don't know if you guys watched the press conference. Maybe we could start with some comments Ankalaev made, about sending him back to the tire shop, which I know got a lot of controversy. What's your guys' thought on that?
Yeah, no, I don't think there's like bad blood, like they hate each other. Yeah. I think they're
just selling the fight.
It's part of it selling the fight. They're also fighters. They're athletes. They're competitors. They're about to get into a cage, so that you build like bad blood just because you almost like.
What if Ankalaev was like, "Hey man, I really respect Pereira," and the translator was like, "I will send him back to the tire shop."
No, he's so Ankalaev is like, yeah, no, that'd be funny. Ankalaev is like pretty jaded, obviously, by the treatment he's gotten from the UFC. So he's coming with the chip. Obviously, they scheduled a fight during Ramadan,
but he's not fasting, according to him, which I think is justified.
He's not, but it just still complicates him, like physically, mentally, spiritually. Like he's still compromised in a way where he's like, man, it's Ramadan, I'm not fasting because of this, and it puts him in this like precarious situation, like mentally.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it gives you a little bit of guilt.
Yeah.
And going into a fight like that, I don't know. I would have loved for him to be fasting into it, to know that just he's totally locked in, to bring another side of him out. I think Magomed, if he even thinks for a second that he's going to be striking with him, he's going to lose. Yeah. He should immediately chase the grappling, just make it a boring fight, just grapple, shoot 10 takedowns every round. Because a lot of these fighters think, oh, like I'm so good, I can hold my own in the striking match. I guarantee you, if he tries to strike, even for 30 seconds, he's gonna end up losing. And I think Magomed has a real chance of winning, a real chance of winning, if he just focuses on making this a grappling, ground and pound match. Bro, Izzy took Alex Pereira down and took his back.
Yeah, everyone who he's fought who's attempted a takedown, everyone Pereira has fought that has attempted a takedown has succeeded. Yeah. So he's definitely the most well-rounded and decorated grappler that he's fought so far.
And I've looked at his stats. He was shooting a lot more takedowns earlier in his career, but I think since he's gotten so much success with knocking people out in his power, if you look at all of
he's not a bad striker. He's a good
striker. But if these fighters that think that they can rely on the Yoel Romero type of like, hey, I'm going to rely on my knockout power instead of my like high level grappling. Yoel Romero at the later end of his career didn't shoot any takedowns, even though he was an Olympian. So Magomed did shoot a lot of takedowns early in his career. I was looking at his previous fights. He maybe shoots one takedown a fight, still wins, but if he thinks that he can get away with just shooting one takedown in this fight, he's going to lose.
Two things I want to say. One is I agree with you guys completely on this. But we also haven't seen anyone really go for a takedown against Pereira in the past few fights, because they've all been trying to stand and bang with him. So I'm interested to see how his game has really improved, because I think the last fight that we saw him kind of get taken down on the ground and just kind of stay there was with Izzy, I think. After that, I think it's all been like stand-up game. But second, if you scroll up to the other way, to the banner or the image of this, whoever did the Photoshop of Alex needs to get fired. You see who is this guy? Do you guys not see this bad Photoshop job? This is like a surgery gone wrong.
That's Alex Pereira, bro.
Dude,
his chin is huge.
What do you?
He's like he's got the Thanos chin.
Yeah, it looks like he got some kind of facial surgery in India. What are we doing here?
No, I don't know.
That does not look like him.
No, it doesn't.
Whoever did that, UFC, why are you photoshopping the man?
I watched Ankalaev fight in Austin.
Yeah,
and he has got like this crazy aura. He's huge. I mean, Alex Pereira is big.
Alex is big too.
Alex is bigger.
Is he?
Yeah.
Because Magomed is big for the lightweight division, light heavyweight.
So you think it's going to be a ground game, or it needs to be a ground game?
It needs to be.
I mean, you can just see
Oh yeah, Alex is a little bit taller too. Yeah, he's looking up.
He's a little bit bigger. Alex is so big. He's like deceptively big. And I can't believe he fought at middleweight. It's crazy to think about.
Honestly,
it is even a battle to cut down to 205 for him, let alone 185. Yeah. He was cutting to 185.
What's his like walking weight? Like 220, 225, I think?
Yeah, his walking weight's like in that 225 range.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean,
so who are we picking on this? What are your thoughts on this?
I'm taking Alex. I think that again, thinking with my head, Magomed grappling, chip on his shoulder, just all the like pieces that have stacked up. But going with my heart, like I am more of an Alex fan. I think there's more excitement for what's to come next. He's got more aura. He's got more of a following that he's also a good dude. Like he's not a bad guy himself. There's a lot of interesting things that he does that is very unique, and winning caters to his aura. And so I kind of want that to continue. Obviously, they're teasing like the John Jones and the heavyweight and the 3 belt opportunity.
Right.
For Alex, I want to see it because maybe Magomed is the toughest competition for Alex so far, but Alex has a better chance of beating a heavyweight than Magomed does. He just is so dangerous on the feet. We talked about this. His hooks, his kicks, his knees. There's so much damage. He has a crushing calf kick. There's so much damage he can do standing. Even if he fights heavyweight, he would probably get grappled to the floor too. So seeing him do that to Magomed, let's say Magomed takes him down, let's say he gets back up and he beats him still, the confidence that he'll have to fight heavyweight and to take the next step will increase, and just the excitement of the storylines. And so it's a bias I have towards him. Objectively, I do think it's close to 50-50. I don't think it's like Magomed's going to be an overwhelming favorite. I think Magomed has a little bit more paths to victory because he is a little bit more well-rounded. He's younger. He's hungry. There's a lot of things that, again, cater to why he's a good choice to win this fight. I just want to see a scrap. I think the fight ends within 3 rounds. I don't think it goes the distance. I think that even Magomed has a chance of knocking him out or submitting him, and they're gonna go all in, and it's gonna be exciting to watch. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun fight.
So what's your thought on this fight, Tamiem?
On the Alex Pereira Magomed fight?
Yeah, who do you think?
I think Magomed's gonna win. I like both fighters a lot. Fighters a lot. If Alex Pereira wins, I think it's great for the UFC. I think it's great. Just going to be more entertaining, a lot more options in whether he goes up or there's a lot of storylines with Alex, less with Magomed. But I like both fighters a lot. I think Magomed's going to win. I just feel that Alex Pereira has such a big weakness in the grappling game that if somebody capitalizes on that, it could just lead to a loss. And yeah, I think that Magomed's going to win, and I want Magomed to win.
What do you guys think it's about Alex Pereira that makes him so captivating? I think he's approaching the levels. I mean, maybe not. I don't know. Is he approaching the levels in terms of likability, in terms of popularity? Maybe not to Conor, but almost there where he's loved by people all around the world. Regardless.
He's definitely the biggest. He's the biggest persona in the UFC right now.
And it's not because he talks shit or anything. It's just purely his aura.
Well, I think UFC fans also love fighters. Like strikers, what I mean. UFC fans love strikers. Like more than if you're a good striker, you're going to have a huge fan base. Conor was a striker. Izzy was a striker. Anyone who can just knock people out, you just get a lot of support from UFC fans, which I feel like a lot of UFC fans don't appreciate the art of the fighting of fighting. And so there's a lot of things that happen when you're grappling that they think is boring. Anytime somebody does a successful takedown, they start booing. Like that kind of stuff is like, I feel like they're just
and to an average fan, I mean, they want to see somebody, strike, and probably that's the excitement in them. But it's crazy to me how he's a quiet guy. He's
he's so technical, such a high level striker, more like the highest level striker in the UFC history. Was like won 3 divisions in kickboxing, beat Izzy in kickboxing before Izzy came to the UFC and became successful in the UFC. And so it's just
I mean, it's not just because of the fact that he's technical, but you mix that in with having this knockout power and highlight reel finish power that a lot of very technical fighters just don't have. A lot of times you don't see that mix. So people want to see the highlight reel finish. He's also a man of like very few words, and he's very rooted in his own culture and his own kind of traditional background. He's not fake at all. He's like a very genuine person. Right.
He's put his story out there for people to know.
He's put his story out there. He travels the world, and he's just a badass, and again, the UFC got lucky that he kind of fell into their lap of a promotion, and it was tied to the storyline of Israel and their rivalry, because they really got him late in his fighting career, not early. And people say, oh, it's manufactured. They gave him like a streamline to the belt or whatever. Like they gave him, they not fix the fights, but they give him these like, they're trying to milk it and give him more of an opportunity to win, because they don't want to see their guy lose, which again, you can make a case for that for sure. This is obviously the fight to make. So if he wins this one, then it shows you that, he's got a catchphrase. He's somebody that, he's just exciting. Like, again, the highlight reel finish is what makes for the entertainment. It's what people like Mike Tyson for, right? Like, he was knocking people out. The grappling is exciting if you can finish your fighter, but if you're just winning on control time, it's boring for people. Just like even if you're a striker, the UFC does favor strikers more so, but they don't like strikers who just win on points either. Like, they don't like that. They want to see the entertainment value that from a fight, it stems from the highlight reel finish. Like the knee to the head, that, the whiplash in slow-mo, the celebration after, the shit talking after. And he's pretty good about, he doesn't have hate in his heart when he fights. Like, after he beats somebody, he has respect. He's a very respectable fighter too. Gives back to his community, takes care of the people that are in his circles. It's hard to hate somebody like that. He's not somebody that, different than Conor, has a different aura to him. It's a different beast. It's a different type of, Conor is 1-of-1, but Alex is also 1-of-1. It's a different, type of a beast that comes to the table. But I think the other fight on the card, the co-main, is Gaethje versus Fiziev. Fiziev also observing Ramadan. I'm not sure if he's fasting or not. I don't really know. It's interesting to me that he's the betting favorite, being that they fought before and Gaethje won. Also, Fiziev is taking the fight short notice, so I don't understand the odds on this. I think maybe because of how brutal that knockout was against Holloway, and going into this fight, the odds makers believe that because he got knocked out so brutally that he's gonna, be a little compromised. And Fiziev, the last time he fought was September of 2023, so he's gotten enough of a break to come back in full form. But Fiziev is also coming off of 2 losses where he got knocked out by Gamrot in his last fight. So the odds are interesting. My instinct in this fight is Gaethje wins. I think Gaethje when he's going into a fight confident, and especially against someone that he's already fought before and has beat, and he's had a full camp, and it's on American soil, and there's so many reasons why I think Gaethje makes more sense from a picking the fight perspective. Again, another 50-50 fight. It's to me like it could go either way, but I'm not as excited for this fight as I would have been for the original Dan Hooker bout. But Fiziev has good energy. He's a good character too, and he's gonna bring the battle. He's not gonna shy away from a bloody war, and both of them are built that way. So this is gonna be an interesting scrap.
I think Gaethje wins. I think he's on another level compared to Fiziev. I think the disrespect or just the perception that Gaethje's not good because of that brutal knockout that he had from Holloway. That fight that he had with Holloway was not fair. The Gaethje Holloway fight was not a fair fight. He got eye poked twice on both bad eye pokes on both eyes. Like how that's an eye poke in a fight is such a compromising thing that like affects the rest of the fight. He still ended up fighting. I do think that he was fighting well before that. So,
but his knockout was not a result of eye poke, right? They stood their ground in the middle of the octagon. And
he got eye poked twice in that fight before he got knocked out by Holloway.
No, I understand.
He was compromised when he got knocked out from Holloway, and that compromise wasn't because he was losing to Holloway. It was because of the eye poke.
Yeah, no. But what Sujan is saying is that the last 10 seconds when they met in the middle and they just swung, the eye poke didn't necessarily play that big of a factor in that moment of the fight, but it probably would. Of
course it did. I think it did.
Maybe it did, but it was so far after the second eye poke that maybe it played a little bit of a part. It wasn't for a lack of vision, though. Maybe like he got poked a couple times and he fought bad after and got hit a lot, and then mentally was like, F it, I'm going to go all in at the end, and lost his edge because of those eye pokes. So it potentially did have a reason why he got knocked out. It just didn't, and it wasn't like eye poke and then 20 seconds later knocked out. It was like further removed from the fight. But
the fighters that fight after an eye poke fight it compromised, and they're not going to make excuses saying, "Oh, I can't see." There's just some fighters that will
Henry Cejudo did.
Henry Cejudo. I mean, a lot of people, even Bilal Muhammad, got an eye poke and then decided, "Hey, I can't see," and he started freaking out, and he was like, "I'm not going to fight anymore. I can't see." I guarantee you, every fighter that has an eye poke cannot see, but they're fighting anyways because they're just like, "I'm not going to make any excuses. I'm going to fight." Justin Gaethje's fight with Fiziev, I think he's going to win. I think it's going to be fight of the night.
Okay. Yeah, the eye pokes are becoming a common theme right now of an issue that the UFC is having.
Are these the gloves?
They changed the gloves to prevent it, and then they went back to the normal gloves. And regardless, it just happens. I think it's like a hard thing to avoid in a fight. I think maybe the refs can be more firm on like closed fists whenever there's like doing like range and distant management in the fights, because a lot of times you'll see them kind of parry punches and keep their hands open and their fingers open. But I really don't think there's much you can do. I think that it's kind of part of it.
But we're seeing that happen more and more.
It's happening a lot
with Henry Cejudo.
His
eye, the picture he posted of his eye was crazy.
It was bad. But even last week in last week's card, with Cape and Almabayov, like that fight ended too because he got eye poked pretty bad. Almabayov's eye was so much worse actually than he got eye poked really, really bad in that fight. And so that's essentially 2 weeks consistently in a row that eye pokes played a big factor. And this fight didn't get called. Like he got poked and he was like running away, and Kape was chasing him and just punching him, and then the ref called it because he wasn't defending himself. But the eye poke played a huge part in it.
I think those moments immediately after the eye poke, if a decision's made, then I think it impacts a lot. I mean, particularly in Gaethje's situation, it was just a last-ditch effort, I think, that he was trying to make, and just didn't work out for him.
Do you guys want to talk through the other fights on this card?
Yeah, we had a comment that wanted us to specifically talk about and predict the women's bout that's about to happen.
So Amanda Lemos and Yasmin Lucindo, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I don't.
All right, let's go to the next one. So
we're gonna go ahead and skip that one.
We're gonna go ahead and skip that.
Let's get a King Green.
I just there's no
Marcio Rufi.
Huff. So I think it's pronounced Huffy, but yeah, King Green and Mauricio Huffy. Yeah, I think Mauricio is gonna win this. Again, he's a lot of people like King Green, Bobby Green, but Mauricio is just a feisty, kind of up and coming, well-rounded. When you watch him fight, you see a lot of Conor McGregor in his stance and the way that his striking like posture is. It's a very similar thing. He's a super well-rounded fighter and is going to be dominant. I think he dominates King Green. King Green is also coming off a loss, I think, to Patty. And before that, he got knocked out by Turner. He did upset Dawson. He did make a comment in the pre-fight press conference that I fought so many times, like naturally some of these fights are going to be bloopers and I'm not going to be the best version of myself. It happens, and that's what happened against Patty, and that you'll see a different version this time. And he has upsetted up-and-coming contenders before, so it wouldn't be the biggest surprise if he upset Mauricio. Mauricio's not perfect. He does have some holes in his game, but I just think that he's going to dominate King Green. I think he's riding a momentum of this fight camp and of his team and even himself and his excitement. And King Green has become somewhat of a gatekeeper for lightweight. They put the contenders up against them, and if they beat them, then they're serious, and if they don't, then he fights the next one. So I like Huffy in this fight. And then again, the Jalen Turner Ignacio Bahamonis fight is an interesting one at lightweight. These are also two contenders that are working their way up the charts. It's pretty close to even money on the cards. Turner's just a big kind of like freak of a fighter at lightweight. He's a very tall, lanky, knockout power type lightweight. I like Turner to win, but if you're gonna make a pick on the fight, I would say pick the under. I don't think it's gonna last. But yeah, I mean that's kind of like all I got UFC.
Any exciting fights on the prelims or early prelims?
Curtis Blades is fighting as like the featured prelim, which is interesting. It's unfortunate for him. I think his last fight was for the belt as the main fight, and he just got absolutely handled by Aspinall, and then now he's back to the prelim. So
like Myanmar,
yeah,
probably the first UFC fighter from there, right?
Joshua Van.
Myanmar, he's fought before. Probably
flyweight.
He's a pretty fun fighter too.
These flyweights, like they need flyweights right now.
Alex Morono's also an interesting
Plus
underdog
600.
in this fight. So I don't know why he's such a heavy underdog. He's a pretty well-rounded fighter. Myron Santos, he was on UFC Tough, like the show, and I believe he was super competitive coming out of the TV series. Pretty interesting fight. I think there's interesting, like it's not the heaviest stacked card from a prelim and early prelim perspective. There's some interesting fights. It's going to be, I believe, the second fight for this Japanese fighter who's coming in undefeated. Again, not a lot for me, at least, to get too excited behind and to feel too hype about. I think the main card is pretty solid top to bottom. It's not, again, this is kind of weak compared to 314. We can talk a little 314 because they just did a press conference for it. I don't know if you guys watched that 314 press conference. Yeah, they had a press conference and it was exciting. Watching Bryce Mitchell and Jean Silva.
Oh, their face-off.
Yeah, they brought Jean. Excuse me, Jean Silva brought a globe because Bryce Mitchell's a flat earther.
He was trolling him the whole conference.
There's a lot of exciting fights in 314, and really from Dominic Reyes fighting Nikita Krylov, like these are solid lightweights. Danny Ige, Sean Woodson, really fun featherweights. Jeff Neal and Carlos Prates. Carlos Prates, another fighting nerd. So on this card, we have John Silva and Carlos Prates, and both of them are part of that fighting nerd team. Carlos Prates is so good. He's so exciting. And fighting against Jeff Neal, that's going to be such a fun fight. Both of them are dogs. They kind of stand and bang. That's also going to end in a finish. Give the fans what they want. Yair, an awesome Mexican fighter. Like it's like art watching him fight. It's beautiful. The cartwheel kicks and the different type of flexibility that he has from his kicks are just so sick. Like he's just like a highlight reel kind of loading, and he's fighting Patricio, who again is going to make his UFC debut. The
fight's in Miami.
It's a super hype card. You got Michael Chandler and Paddy Pimblett. That's going to be a fun fight. Like Michael Chandler's fights, win, lose, draw, he loses a lot. A lot of fighters think he's a cheater. Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier talk about it a lot. Like he's dirty. He's dirty in the fights. He does a lot of dirty things. Like he'll hold on to the inside of your gloves. Like he'll like hook in your mouth. He'll do a lot of those like little subtle things, and doing that with Paddy's going to be interesting. And I really don't know how that fight's going to go. I think that Chandler will probably win, but I'd rather see Paddy win. And Paddy is also another fighter who has like a lot of hype behind him, and this is going to be his biggest win. He called out Ilya in the press conference. He wants Ilya. He doesn't think Ilya's capable enough of beating Islam. He thinks once he beats Chandler, he wants Ilya, Dustin, Charles. Like every fight after Chandler is exciting for Paddy. So that lightweight's always just well positioned. And then Alex versus Diego is an interesting fight. Diego's like so much taller and has a lot of options from a finishing standpoint, but I just think Alex is too good. So I don't see Alex losing this one. I think he reestablishes himself, probably defends himself one more time after getting the belt, and then calls out Ilya again, and maybe even goes up to try to fight him. And he probably wants that. He wants that lick back from that loss. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he recovers. The past few fights haven't gone his way, and it's not the Alex that we're used to seeing, I think, since the head kick with Islam and then the knockout with Ilya definitely set him back. But I'm glad he took some time off because he was fighting a lot and he was very active. I'm glad he took some time off, recovered, and it'll be exciting to see how he does against Lopez. I want Alex to win. I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to be a mental game. Especially for Alex coming in after those two losses, but he's a likable guy. You want him to win. He
said that he wants to get active again after this too. So he wants to be back in the mix. I do think that he's hunting for a rematch. He's being quiet about it right now, but just getting a couple wins and title defenses under his belt, he's going to try to get that back. And that's why Ilya is so well positioned for so many exciting fights.
Yeah. Like
no matter who he's fighting next, it's going to be exciting. If he fights Islam, exciting. If he beats Islam, that's obviously awesome for like his legacy and the kind of resume he's put together. But even if he loses to Islam, there's a Charles fight, there's a Paddy fight, there's fighting Alex again, there's fighting your boy Holloway again. So many good fights. I mean, so many big money fights. So no, I'm excited. Obviously our UFC fan base, our UFC fans love to talk shit, but I think that's just a general rule of thumb for UFC fans. they're like, oh, let's grapple, and then if I win, stop doing this podcast, or you guys are casuals, or you don't know what you're talking about, or this or that. I'm like, yeah, we just started doing a podcast, so apologies that we're not perfect, but you're small. That's why you want to wrestle. You're like, we have multiple jiu-jitsu and judo practitioners and cricket players in here, so you guys are screwed.
What?